After 3.5 years of being married, I found out my wife was cheating, and I quietly slipped away. A year down the road, my ex-wife, who'd gone completely radio silent, managed to find me. After I caught wind of my wife's infidelity, I retreated to a place in the hills. I'm not entirely sure why I'm putting this down on paper, but maybe it'll be a bit of a help to someone, now that the whole mess is behind me and I've started fresh. It was February 2018, 3.5 years into our marriage. When I stumbled upon my wife's secret affair, my job was a contract gig, sometimes demanding a ton of travel, but also letting me work from home once I got back. My wife, a director at a tech sales firm, was pulling in some serious cash. Things had gotten a bit tense, what with her working crazy hours, and me being away on business trips. We still had what I'd consider a pretty awesome marriage. Let me give you some context. 5 years back, I met my wife, now my ex, at a barbecue thrown by a mutual friend. We hit it off the moment we started chatting. Honestly, I thought being with such a gorgeous and sharp woman was a major win. My somewhat unpolished personality somehow won her over. After a couple of weeks of seeing each other, we were completely head over heels. Whenever we'd get together at our places, clothes would just magically disappear. We tied the knot after dating for 1.5 years, and shacked up in a spacious apartment while saving for a house deposit. Things started shifting after those first 3 years of marriage. Even though my feelings for her were still strong, I noticed she'd pick fights over the smallest things. When I brought up her late nights and the frequent work get-togethers, she'd get really ticked off. She'd say it was part of climbing the corporate ladder, and that it was just something she had to do. At least, that's how she explained it. She pointed out that since I was also gone 4 weeks at a time, I didn't have any room to criticize her. In reality, I was only taking trips lasting 3 or 4 days, maybe every 5 weeks. So I told her I could easily cut back on my travel. These arguments always went in circles, never reaching a real resolution. Thinking back, I realize I was totally clueless about my wife's affair. Other than our sex life dwindling and her constantly working late, I wouldn't have ever thought anything was up. I just figured she was worn out from her job, but being turned down so much when I tried to get intimate had definitely bruised my ego. I didn't see any of the secret texting I'd read about, even though she had a work phone and might have been using it. She used our extra bedroom as her home office and was in there a lot. Around September 2017, Kathy started coming home from work and then heading straight out to some work thing. This went from once a week to more than 3 nights. Every week. I'm not the jealous type normally, but she'd definitely be getting attention. And I know she'd have to fend off some of the guys at her workplace. Even though she worked with more male CEOs than female ones, she made it seem like she was mostly focused on her job. The first time I thought she might be cheating was a month before everything blew up. She'd made a quick stop at the grocery store. Before coming home, I was asked to help her carry in the groceries. As I was grabbing some stuff from the back seat, I noticed something pink shimmering from under the front passenger seat of her car. It turned out to be my wife's bra. I recognized it as hers, because she always bought from a particular clothing brand. Looking back, I realized the bra was a huge red flag. She always takes off her bra first, from under her top, when she's feeling extra passionate. I'm not sure why, but seeing this made me feel instantly queasy. I couldn't wrap my head around why her bra was under the seat. I didn't bring it up. My heart must have been racing so fast that I almost blacked out, because when I brought the bags into the kitchen, Kathy asked me if I was okay and said I looked like I'd seen a ghost. I just brushed off her comment. It took all my willpower to hide my feelings, but I tried my best not to seem upset or betrayed. That night and the next day, I decided to try and figure out if she was actually seeing someone. I started thinking about all the signs I might have missed. Besides the bra, I didn't have any solid proof. She works in an office building in the city center, and we live in a pretty large city. I decided to push the affair idea aside for a bit and try giving her more attention. One Friday after work, I cooked a fantastic dinner and set the dining table with our nice plates, cutlery, and some candles. I picked up some flowers and a nice bottle of wine. When she came in, breezing through the door as usual, I showed her the dinner and everything I'd prepared. She apologized, saying she was really sorry, but she had to meet her coworkers at a local spot. She mentioned she needed to shower first but could grab a quick bite with me before heading out. I guess I went completely quiet because my stomach did a flip. I won't go into the kind of rage I felt then, but I'd had enough. While she was in the shower, I grabbed my work cell phone and tossed it in her back seat. I'd been thinking of this as a way to track her, using my own phone. Then I went into the kitchen and dumped the food and flowers in the trash. After showering, she got ready, looking as gorgeous as ever. "All right, let's eat," she said. "Never mind, go hang out with your friends," I told her. She gave me a strange look and asked if I was mad. "I'm just bummed you never want to do anything with me," I said. She got upset and sarcastically commented on my short temper, telling me to stop acting like a child. Foolish me, I muttered, as I stood there, letting it all sink in. For once, I thought we should spend the evening together. She just gave me a smirk and stormed off. When she left, I took out my second phone and started tracking my work phone. I saw her stop, about 20 minutes away, at the bar she usually goes to with her coworkers. I decided to go look for her car. Sure enough, it was in the bar's parking lot. I waited in my car across the street to see if I could spot her. I felt completely out of sorts, like a stalker. But I told myself I had to get a grip on my worries about where she was. About an hour after I arrived, I saw her walk out of the bar with a guy. He looked like one of the executives from her company. He grabbed her, pulled her close, and kissed her on the lips. My body went completely numb, and my stomach started to knot up. They walked to a different car and got in together. I tried to follow them. When their car pulled out, you guessed it, they drove to a hotel 10 minutes away. As I pulled over on the street next to the hotel, I watched them get out, holding hands, and walk inside. I'd seen all I needed to. I felt like an idiot. I started slamming my fist on the steering wheel. That was it. Something inside me just went completely blank. I'm not sure if I had an out-of-body experience or blacked out, but when I came to, I felt like I needed a drink. At this point, my life took a turn I never could have predicted. I just started driving out of town, replaying everything I'd just witnessed. I was crying from anger, as much as I hate to confess it. I found a nice little bar on the edge of town, about 30 miles away, and pulled over. I sat at the bar and ordered a drink. The bartender, a woman, said I looked like the wind had been knocked out of me. So I guess I looked terrible. You could say that, I replied, with a half-hearted smile. A guy sat down next to me and started a conversation. Even though I wasn't in the mood to chat, there was something about this guy that made me feel comfortable. We got to talking, and eventually, my wife's cheating came up. I told him that all I wanted was to get away from her and put her out of my mind. You're not alone, buddy, he said, giving me a quick look and then patting me on the back. I went through that a few years back. I believe there's a purpose behind these things happening. Your life can now go in a good or bad direction, I guarantee it. At this moment, it's entirely up to you. His words, for some reason, snapped me out of my funk. Even though I was hurting, I've always been able to think clearly, and he was absolutely right. We introduced ourselves. His name was Ray. I really appreciated his down-to-earth personality, even though he was more of a country type. When are you planning to move out? He asked. I guess I hadn't thought that far ahead. I had a fight-or-flight response kicking in, and I knew I didn't want to be near this woman anymore. I have a suggestion, and I really feel for your situation, Ray continued. When you're ready, I have a mobile trailer on my property you could use if you need to get away. It might need a bit of fixing up and isn't anything fancy, but why don't you come by and see if you could picture yourself staying in something like that for a bit? I'll give you a great deal on it, at the very least. You could even park it on a nice piece of land I own. I'd appreciate it if you could keep an eye on it for me. It might be good to get away from your predicament, just a thought. I took a moment to process his idea. Hell, honey, if I could have run away from my crazy ex-husband years ago, I would have jumped at the chance to go live in his trailer, or anything just to get my head straight, added the bartender, who had been eavesdropping on our conversation. Maybe this was exactly what I needed, but I felt like I had stepped into some alternate reality. Yeah, I'll consider it and maybe take a look, I told Ray. After a while, we went our separate ways and agreed to meet up at his place in a couple of days. I started to feel like I had some perspective and a chance to escape what I thought was a horrible heartbreak mixed with a nightmare. I knew one thing for sure. I would never, ever want to be around my wife again. I find cheating to be absolutely repulsive, and it's always been the one thing I thought I could never tolerate. I sat on the couch when I got home that night, after Kathy. Kathy asked me where I had been when she came out. Where have you been? I asked, turning to face her. You know I went to get drinks, she replied. I asked her point blank. Are you having an affair? She looked shocked, but she quickly regained her composure and answered, No, why would you even ask me that? I told her I'd heard she might be seeing someone from work. Who told you that? She demanded. Someone I know, I responded, but I didn't reveal the name. After saying, You're being ridiculous, she accused me of being drunk and crazy and asked where I had been. We're going to a bar to have some drinks with friends, I said. Even though she clearly wanted to ask more questions, she went back to our bedroom and went to sleep. Now that I had proof she'd been lying to me for months, I decided to sleep on the couch. I couldn't sleep a wink because I kept picturing her in bed with that guy. I felt pathetic, disgusted, and hurt. But then I remembered Ray's trailer. The thought of it lifted my spirits, and it felt almost like a sign. Something must be wrong with me since the fight-or-flight response automatically kicked in amid the pain I was feeling, and I chose the flight response. We didn't say much to each other the next morning and went about the weekend as if nothing had happened. I arranged to meet with Ray a few days later. I noticed that Ray had a beautiful ranch when I arrived, and the trailer was actually quite decent, about 26 feet long and fully equipped. It reminded me of a fun spring break trip I took with friends when I was in college. Ray accepted the money I offered him for the trailer. To be honest, I almost took it from him. I drove over to check out his ranch property after he gave me the directions. There were hiking and biking trails nearby, and the area was gorgeous, with plenty of trees and scrub brush. Ray had a small cabin on a hilltop overlooking the property, with electricity and water available for the trailer, and it was close to the foothills of some mountains. Ray promised to get the trailer ready for me and tow it to the spot. I tried to get Kathy to confess over the next few weeks, but all I got was manipulation. I even flat out warned her that there would be no going back if I found out she was cheating. As a result, she became even more deeply involved in her affair fog and started lashing out at me with denials. I almost chuckled at how terrible the denial was. I scolded myself for not taking pictures of the two of them, and I had no concrete proof that she had cheated. I decided that I wanted out of this marriage after going through this emotional turmoil. Instead of telling Kathy how I felt, I just started making plans. While she was at work, I began quietly taking my belongings out of the apartment and moving them to the trailer. At least I felt like I was taking action. I noticed a change in Kathy during this time. Although she had started acting nicer to me, I thought it was too little, too late. I felt I needed a break as well, so she kept going on company outings after work. One night, I got ready too, just as she was leaving. After giving me a look, she asked where I was going. Meeting up with some friends, was all I said. You wouldn't enjoy all the shop talk, and you don't know them, I interrupted her as she started to ask more questions. She used to say the exact same thing to me whenever I asked if I could join her on office trips. All right, have fun, she said, looking a bit hurt. I definitely will, I replied. I started meeting new people while working on the trailer and hanging out with Ray at the bar. I felt better after spending time with Ray's wonderful family and friends. I also decided to cut back on my drinking because I didn't want to develop any bad habits. I knew better than to drown myself in self-pity, even though it would have been so easy. At this point, Kathy told me she'd be going on a work trip the following week. She said the executive team and a few department heads were going when I asked who was going. I hope you have a fantastic time with your boyfriend, I added, looking at her. I instantly regretted saying that because it set off a huge fight. Although, as Ray had told me, it didn't really matter. I now regret not knowing more about her affair partner, AP. It doesn't matter who the other guy is, Ray said. The fact that she chose to betray you is all that matters. She destroyed the marriage, whether she admits it or not, brother. Facts are facts. Ray should write a guide for the betrayed. Damn it, I had the perfect chance to move out completely during Kathy's work trip. While she was gone, I gathered everything valuable that was mine, including clothes, laptops, and equipment. I didn't take any shared items or furniture. I left a note before I left. It was a long explanation at first, but I decided to keep it short. I hope it was worth it, I wrote on a piece of paper. I placed my wedding ring on top of the note on the kitchen table. I felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders as I walked out. I was free. The pain would take time to heal, and there would be baggage to deal with, but I had made a start. I needed time to myself and to quickly and quietly get rid of her. The fact that I hadn't confronted her or forced a confession didn't make me proud. I hadn't yelled or screamed. She didn't deserve it, in my view. She disregarded everything we had, including our future plans, our dreams of a home and a family, and now it was all gone. There was no going back. I owed her absolutely nothing. She could deal with the fallout. I hadn't made any arrangements or contacted a lawyer. I just wanted a fresh start and some peace of mind. The mountain air was exactly what I needed when I got inside my trailer. I started running again the following week, and it felt great to be alive. Kathy texted things like, "We just landed, we're having a team dinner," and so on while she was away. "Where are you?" was the question in a few messages. "Why haven't you gotten back to me?" I didn't reply. My phone blew up with calls and texts when she got home. She kept trying to reach me, but I ignored her. Her mother also tried to call me after the first day, but I didn't answer. She didn't try to involve my father because we aren't close, and he's the only member of my family that I still keep in touch with. Her messages became more frantic after she was ignored for a week. "What is this?" was one of the texts she sent. "We need to talk. I'm not sure what you think you know, but nothing is going on. There's no affair." She finally texted me after a week of not responding, saying, "I'm sorry things got out of hand. It didn't mean anything that I was involved with someone at work. You were gone a lot while I was busy with my job. I just made a mistake. I was going to end it." A mistake? I had been waiting for this confession all along, yet somehow it only made me despise her more. Why couldn't she just be honest? I didn't have any fantasies about a future with this woman. Mistakes don't last for 6, 8, or 12 months. Her pleas for me to come back and work on the marriage eventually became pathetic. I refused to answer her even after she stopped bothering me for a few weeks. I didn't want her to find out where I was living or to intrude on my life. I didn't want this woman to ruin my sanctuary. She then started sending nasty texts like, "You're a coward," one day. "You won't talk to me. You don't care about us. Come home, please, so we can talk." "Where are you? I can come to you. Paul, please let's talk and fix this." Damn it. Although I don't remember all of the texts, They all seemed to be excuses with very little genuine remorse. I let them go in one ear and out the other. After a while, I changed my cell phone number. Update. June 2018. I received an email from Kathy informing me that she had hired a lawyer and was going to file for divorce. I simply replied, "Okay, that sounds good." This resulted in a flood of emails asking me to come see her and other things. She wrote that she would stop bothering me if I agreed to an uncontested divorce after realizing this wouldn't work. After I agreed, I was truly free a few months later. After I moved out of our apartment, I never had to see her again. She seemed to care more about that than I did, even though neither of us had any closure. I would occasionally think about her for a few months, and yes, the sadness would suddenly hit me, like when I heard a song we used to like. After a while, though, I just stopped thinking about her. Update 2. Now that I'm officially divorced, things are going great. In fact, I met a wonderful woman. I was running on the trail just down the hill from my place. We hit it off when I helped her change a flat tire. Even though she's a few years younger than me, she's amazing and really cute. She calls me her mountain man and loves my lifestyle. Although I'm not in a hurry to settle down, I also don't plan to give up on women completely. I have no intention of moving out of the trailer anytime soon. I love being outdoors and have simplified my life. It made everything easier for me, including the heartache and my ex-wife. I know that everyone reacts to these situations differently. I was lucky to be in my 3rd year of marriage and not yet a parent. I believe I acted in my own best interest. You don't have to spend your entire life with someone who cheats. If you go through something similar, try not to dwell on it too much. Keep living your life. As you improve yourself, it will get better. I hope everyone has the best possible life. I've revised this about 5 times to make it easier to read, and I just wanted to give you an update on my ex-wife's situation. I was concerned that my ex-wife was trying to find me, as I mentioned in my previous post. I left our former home, which was about 2 hours away. I ran into her last weekend at a coffee shop I frequent in the town near my home. It didn't seem like a coincidence to me. Fortunately, I was able to get away before she saw me. Third update. I went into town last weekend to get groceries and stopped at my usual coffee place. I was using their free internet to work on some paperwork for work. I finished and walked out of the coffee shop. I was on my way to my truck when I heard someone yell, "Paul." When I turned to look across the street, I saw Kathy. My ex-wife was waving at me. Finally, the end of the world had arrived. She hurried across the street toward me, and I stood there in shock. As if expecting a hug, she walked over and held out her hand. I stopped her in her tracks by instinctively holding out my arms with my palms up. She looked like she was in a lot of pain. Then she said, "I've been looking for you, Paul. I've wanted to see you since I heard you moved here. Can we talk?" Guys, I felt like a trapped animal. Yes, I did. "All right, let's find a table or something, and we can talk for a minute," I finally relented. When she asked if we could go to my place, I firmly refused. At the end of the street, she followed me down to a bench outside a small shop. She started by commenting on how much I had changed and how much she liked my new look, beard, and level of fitness. She gushed about how much my body had transformed. Wearing a tank top, short white shorts, and her hair in a ponytail, just like I used to like, she was really turning on the charm. I had my guard up. She was clearly trying to turn on the sex appeal. I needed to get a grip on myself so I could see where this was going. She began by apologizing for the affair. She claimed that after I left, karma had hit her hard. When her employer found out about the affair, the situation became so strained that she eventually quit. Her affair partner, AP, who was engaged at the time, received criticism and was transferred to a different department within the company. She replied by telling his fiancé the truth after he blamed her for everything, which led to them breaking up. This is when she lowered her head and started to cry. I didn't say anything. I just sat there and looked around. She straightened up and looked at me for a moment. "What do you want from me?" I asked. She assured me that she had no intention of having an affair. She said that the company's politics and positioning drew her in, and that her AP used his charm and influence to corrupt her. She admitted that she felt she was taking advantage of him as much as he was taking advantage of her. After I accused her of cheating, she said that she planned to come clean. She drank after work to ease the guilt she felt at the time because she hated herself. She claimed that she felt so foolish, so alone, and as if her heart had burst with loss, immediately after I left. She ended her relationship with her AP right away. She believed she had to find me to see if there was any chance of us getting back together because I refused to talk to her or get in touch with her. She wanted a fresh start. She hoped we could start over even though she knew we were divorced. I simply stared at her. I then laid it all out for her. "You have no right to come out here and undo all the damage you've caused. Do you think I'll forget everything you did to destroy our marriage? As I said before, we were done if you cheated. Forgiveness doesn't exist. This relationship won't be restarted. You killed it. As soon as you abandoned me, you ruined everything we had. How stupid do you think I am? One evening, I watched you walk into a hotel with him. Did you know that?" I became aware that people were starting to notice that my voice had been getting louder. She grabbed my arm and started crying. After letting her cry on my shoulder for a while, I pushed her away. "I deserve all this," she said, looking up at me. I am certain that I do. If nothing else, would you let me take you out to dinner? I'd rather not, I said. I would like to talk more. I want to make sure that we are completely honest about everything. You need to spend more time with me than you have in the past. Paul, please, I love you so much, even though I know you might not want to hear it. Before you left me, I had no idea how much I loved you. You broke me as much as I broke you. I'm unable to forgive myself, and I don't want to do so until the day I die. She started to sob uncontrollably and hyperventilate. I helped her up and gave her a hug. It seemed like my only option for calming her down. I knew then that I had broken her heart as badly as she had broken mine. Walking, we found a quiet place to continue our conversation. How did you find me? I asked when she had calmed down. Did you hire a private investigator? After giving it some thought, she responded, no, with a small giggle. She clarified that she asked how things were going when she ran into Stacy a few weeks prior. Stacy didn't mention that she had noticed me. Kathy forced her to reveal all the information. I had warned Stacy not to tell her, so she was reluctant, but Kathy persisted. Stacy finally gave in, but all she knew was that I lived somewhere close by and was in town. On her days off, she began to come here to check on me. I kind of laughed when she said that, thinking, damn, Stacy can't keep her mouth shut. She blushed. We ultimately decided to have dinner at a charming little spot with a patio. I made sure we didn't drink anything since I wasn't going to give her a reason to be kind to me or say she wasn't so inebriated that she couldn't drive back. In fact, we had a good conversation. I then escorted her to her vehicle. She insisted that she hadn't dated anyone else since I left and vowed fervently that I was the only person she wanted, so she pushed me hard to stay longer. No, it's still way too early for me to go down that road, I informed her. She pleaded with me to come back, but I didn't say yes. After giving her my new email address, I didn't say anything more. My response to her request for my phone number was, you'll just blow it up with texts and calls. She wept over it, but in the end, she agreed with my choice. She promised to send me an email with information on returning to town the following weekend before she left. I asked her directly, would you have forgiven me if I had been the one cheating? Before she got into her car. Yes, in time, but only if we saw a marriage counselor and worked through the healing process with lots of talking, maybe even a binding agreement, she responded after pausing to reflect. All right, maybe I could do that. In 5 or 10 years, I answered. I would wait if that's what it would take, she replied. She then took both of my hands in hers, looked me in the eye and said, God damn it, Paul, I will always love you and will do anything to prove it. This statement truly caught me off guard. Her remarks continued to upset me even after she left. She had spoken those words so firmly. However, I was still unable to envision us getting back together. Even though I felt better about the incident, I was unable to perceive her as a friend at this time. Perhaps a friend, but even that was a mystery. I returned home, enjoyed a long run, had some beer, and thought about how far I had come. Could someone please assure me that she wouldn't destroy the tranquility I had created for myself? I had no idea. I had the luxury of time to sort through it and get perspective, but it was all still too vivid in my mind. Last update. Most likely, this will be my final update. When I first uploaded my story to Reddit, the moderators kept taking it down. In summary, I ghosted my ex-wife for more than a year before she discovered me. She wanted to make amends and start over with us. You will be deeply disappointed if you thought I would be the typical beta blue pill fool and forgive her. She expressed her love and regret for the affair in a lengthy email she sent me last week. She offered to come out and stay with me for the weekend once more. My answer? I silenced her. I informed her that I had no plans to make amends with her. I'm totally happy living alone, taking advantage of my secluded position, and keeping things simple. At 32, I'm not in a rush to make changes. I have my own self-determination plan and have enjoyed the company of a few women and friends. I made it clear in my email response that I had no intention of reconciling and declined to provide her with my phone number. I no longer know or trust you because you made your bet. I hope the best for you, and perhaps we might become friends in the future, but not right now. She was annoyed by my evasiveness and responded in a telling way. She acknowledged that she had taken a job offer from a different state. Her true goal had been for me to accompany her, believing that my remote work would make the move simple. She wished we could start over somewhere new. She wanted to visit me in person to attempt to persuade me because she was running out of time before moving. Luckily for me, her time was up because I had a week of business travel scheduled. I'm grateful. I will no longer have her in my life. She will soon recognize that her time with me is over, but I anticipate receiving a few more emails. She'll need to find someone else, and she might even cheat on them. To anyone reading this, make the most of your life. Let go of the past and give yourself the strength to go on. To all of you, good luck. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.